Yeah, I can't.
Because I've been cut already. I like cards.
Nobody.
I can see his
Bummers. I know. We should.
Make sure I sign one anyway. I'll sign.
Pittman, has got something special. I think he's got. Welcome, guys, to the Gridiron Gurus, presented by Famisphere. I'm Keith, joined by Jesse. And, guys, we've been gone for quite a while. Life kind of got in the way, and we've been doing some things. Jesse's took up coaching, and so it's kind of put a damper on our timing. But his season's coming to a close. Hopefully he makes it farther than he originally thought, I guess, what I'm trying to say. His season's looking up. Hopefully he gets to the title game and gets him a championship. But either way, guys, we're going to be coming to you guys on Thursdays. We're going to try to record on Wednesdays. We're going to drop on Thursdays and on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast at. Make sure you join us, like it, leave us a review, whatever platform that you're on. It really helps us out. But anyways, we're going to get into this. A real quick overview. What we're going to talk about is the past weeks of college football. We're week 3, and we've not been on to talk to you guys about anything that's been going on. We're going to talk about the past weeks. This week, we're also going to do some bet lines, what we think are going to be good bets to put on. I think Jesse's got 2 really good ones and then one kind of an iffy one. We was talking offline about.
They're going to hit. They're going to hit.
They're going to hit. Well, I mean, that's one thing we're going to discuss. And then we've also got just straight game picks of some of the games that are coming up this week, and then our 5 and 5. So we're going to jump right into it. The past weeks in college football and some things that have happened that are pretty exciting as far as if you're a college football fan. And the first thing I want to hit on is Georgia's win over Clemson,
right.
Showcasing a really good defense in my opinion. The offense, is hit or miss, I believe, but the defense, man, is to me is pretty stout.
Yeah, I agree. That defense looks pretty good. I'm not sure really if. I mean, they look good. They do look good. They have a very good defensive line. I cannot think of that nose guard.
Oh, I can't.
He's like 340 pounds, runs like a deer. And I mean that literally. I mean, he's agile like a cat. But honestly, as good as they looked, at the same time, Clemson made them look even better. Their offense just really seemed out of key, like out of place, like they just weren't on.
They look like that all year. I mean,
they have looked like that all year. And you thought maybe it was just week 1 struggles, but I mean the last 2 games they've been kind of slow and
right. I think that Georgia has the best defense in college football, and just in my opinion. Not only is that nose tackle that you're talking about, but they've got some linebackers like you talk about run like a deer. I mean, they are fast. They can cover, but they can also get downhill and stop the run. And their defense is just really good. And I thought, well, maybe that's why Clemson struggled. But in the last week's game, their offense, like you said, was very sluggish.
It was very sluggish. And this week, it'll be, interesting to see how they come out and they're able to perform. We're 3 games in now, and they've not really shown a dominant factor like they have in the years past with
right.
Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, guys like that. Everybody thought, I think DJ Uyunglele, if that's how I said that right.
I think you nailed it.
He was a Heisman. I mean, I'm assuming he's still on some people's watch list, but he's not really put up the numbers that everyone expected him to put up.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of guys that you can
runner.
say that about, like Sam Howell and even DJ, that they've not performed like we thought they would. So he still could be. Depends on how the rest of the season goes, because the ACC is very weak.
Which I'm not gonna completely just knock Clemson too, though, because Georgia's offense didn't look that impressive that week either.
No,
I mean their defense looked good, but their offense, JT Daniels did not look like what we thought he would look like.
No, he didn't.
I mean, so I don't know. It's kind of been a weird year in football so far.
It really has. It really has. I mean, you talk about Texas, and this is another game that we're going to talk about. Is Texas? After the news of them in Oklahoma going to join the SEC, that they go and play Arkansas, and an Arkansas team that nobody really thought was going to be, kind of middle of the pack on that side. they came out and absolutely dominated Texas.
Yep.
I mean, from start to finish, they absolutely just annihilated them. And you wonder, is Arkansas better than what people thought, or is Texas just weak? And Sarkisian has not got his guys in like he needs to, and he probably will in the next couple of years.
Yeah. I agree, and they have a pretty tough test this week with Texas Tech, so I'm interested to see how that goes. But
You talking about Arkansas?
No, I'm talking about Texas.
Okay.
And but it's I've not really watched anybody yet that I really felt like was just the most dominating team. Like Alabama, yeah, they still look good, but they still don't look like Alabama in years past. Like Alabama, typically it's okay. Well, Alabama's in the national title game, and
right.
It's all said and done. After watching them last weekend, they could get knocked out by Florida in a rematch, or Georgia in Atlanta. Either one, if they even make it. The West actually looks pretty good.
The Florida-Georgia game is going to be a very telltale sign because Florida is not only going to be playing for the SEC rise to have a rematch with Alabama, but they have to win that game just to keep their national title hopes alive.
Yeah, I don't think a two-loss team will be able to make it.
I mean, when you talk about a two-loss team, you're talking about a two-loss team from the SEC because when you got Georgia, you got Alabama that's going to be ahead of you.
Right.
So if Florida loses that game, I don't think that they can make the title game, the SEC title game, much less the national title.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, weird things have happened, but I just don't see a road for them if they lose to Georgia, which, in a couple of weeks we'll be getting on that game. And I think that'll be a great one because Florida's offense is really good.
Yeah.
And you've seen that against Alabama. That was Alabama's first test of the year was the Florida game because they just absolutely destroyed Miami.
They started out a little slow, too. Their offense did. They made great halftime adjustments, though. Props to Dan Mullen.
Oh, yeah. Dan Mullen's a great coach.
But I tell you, the team that's impressed me so far, and I hate to even say this because I feel like this happens every year, every other year. Coming into this season, I thought, James Franklin is fighting for his job.
Yeah.
And he still has a long way to go. There's still, a lot of tough games left on the schedule. But they opened up at Wisconsin, and with a tough Wisconsin team.
Yeah, very
able
well
to win that game. And then last week had the whiteout at home, and a great game. If you missed that game, you missed a heck of a game. But the win against Auburn I thought was huge. So I'm penciling in Penn State everywhere now. Games to watch because they have Michigan State, Ohio State left to play.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see if they survive.
To be honest, Ohio State hasn't looked good. I mean,
No, they've not. They don't look like the usual dominant Ohio State.
They had the game against Oregon, and Oregon obviously won the game. But what we was talking about offline was Thibodeau didn't play the big defensive tackle for Oregon. He didn't even play in the game,
Right.
And then last week I believe it was Tulsa. That Tulsa almost knocked off Ohio State, and I could definitely see a Penn State team beating Ohio State handedly, and also a guy that's on my 5-and-5 list for coaches that are in the hot seat. In Michigan, I could see Michigan pulling off the win against Ohio State. Ohio State looking at 3 losses in the season.
That's what I was going to say was that what a year for Jim Harbaugh and I think not only would it be a great year, I think it's the year. I think this is the year that he has to beat Ohio State.
I think so too.
I think this is going to be the one that if he doesn't win it this year, that's all she wrote. But what a year though! This is the best time. Both teams look comparable. And I don't think that Ohio State's just that much more dominant than you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have to buckle up, and he's going to have to pull this win out this time.
I don't know offhand, but does Penn State play Ohio State before Michigan does?
Yes, it's that Michigan and Ohio State are the last game of the year.
That's what I thought.
The very last game.
I could see Penn State goes and beats Ohio State. I don't know if that game's at home or away, but if Penn State beats Ohio State, I could see a 2-loss Ohio State team not really trying hard against Michigan. They're kind of out of the playoffs. They're not going to make the Big Ten title game.
Oh, I don't know. That's the game.
Well, I understand that's the game, but I could also see guys being like, I'm not going to – what's the point? I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that could be a leg up for Jim Harbaugh to get a win against Ohio State and save his job. because, like you said, not only is this the year that he needs to beat Ohio State, it's also going to be the year he gets fired.
Yeah, I think that his schedule is tough.
Right.
I was looking. I had some notes here about Harbaugh in a later segment, but they have to travel. They go on the road at Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Penn State, and they end the year by hosting Ohio State.
Right.
So that's tough.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
tough.
It's not an easy schedule for him.
I mean, Wisconsin. You know what Wisconsin's going to do? They're going to line up.
Yeah,
and
they're going to
run right at you.
4 tight ends on one side of the field.
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
run it right at you.
They're going to stack the line of scrimmage and load it up.
Right.
Run the ball at you. And they're physical. They're very physical.
Oh yeah.
But then Michigan State's looking pretty good. They've had a strong start. So it's going to be some tough football ahead for him.
Right. But anyways, that's the week's past for college football. But now this week, actually one more that I want to talk about for what we've seen so far is Florida State struggles. Florida State struggled. They lost to Jacksonville State. I think they're 0-3 actually. When I say struggles, they've not won a game. Lost to Jacksonville State. Lost to who did they play week 1?
They played Notre Dame week 1.
Played Notre Dame
Yep.
and barely lost. I think it was 38-41 was the final.
After that game, I actually thought that Florida State was on the road to recovery.
Right,
I thought that they were back.
They were close to being
because
competing
they
with Clemson in the ACC.
right, and boy was I mistaken.
Next week they went out and got beat by Jacksonville.
By Jacksonville State at home.
Yeah.
FCS Jacksonville State. For those that are wondering, yes, that Jacksonville State.
Right.
Not the Dion. That's Jackson State. I saw a lot of fans on Twitter and Facebook, talking about Dion. Primetime's not. That's the wrong Jackson State. Jacksonville State.
Right.
But the loss to Wake Forest was the one for me.
I know.
You lose 2 in a row, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Notre Dame game was at home too. So you lose. I believe they were at home.
I think it was at Notre Dame.
Are you sure?
I'll look.
While
you're talking,
I thought they were in Tallahassee, but I could be wrong.
Right.
But anyways, you lose 2 right at the gate. You lose 1 that you really have no business losing to at home.
That's your game like a warm up game, or not for a warm up game, but a recovery game.
A tune up, yeah.
Right.
And then you go on the road to Wake Forest and you lose to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
How in the world
did
you lose to Wake Forest?
They were at home.
For Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Okay, so you lose 2 home games. And here's the other thing. Rest his soul, the late, great Bobby Bowden has got to be tossed and turned in his grave. Here we are. They're honoring a legend. Everybody's got, and I want one of those shirts. I'm not even a Florida State fan, but I want one of those shirts. The Daggum Legend shirt with the hat. I want one of those. But we're honoring Bobby Bowden, and this is how you honor Bobby Bowden? This is pathetic.
Right.
Like, that's awful.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what's going on. They've got a lot of struggles. But I'll tell you this. I have another stat here, again, for later on in the segment. Try to guess for me the last time. They're 0-3 right now.
Right.
Give me a guess on the last time you think that Florida State started at 0-4.
0-4?
0-4.
2006?
No, you're not even close.
Not even close. You're
not even close.
I'm trying to think when Bobby Bowden started at Florida State, which was probably, mid to late 80s?
No, he close. He was like 78 or 77.
That's when he started at Florida State?
No, wait. 36.
He started
in 36. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was the early 80s, but yeah, 76.
Was it under his tenure?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
No.
So, I'm not even close.
1974. 2 years before Bobby Bowden arrived, they went 0-11.
Ooh.
That's the last time they started at 0-4. Bobby Bowden never started the season 0-4.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And that's unheard of.
Right.
You think about Florida State football, and I don't like Florida State. I do like the color scheme, but
color scheme is nice.
But you think about Florida State football, you think about some of the legends that have coached there, and think about the legendary teams that they've had there.
Right.
They're always in the national spotlight because they're always competitive. They're always playing for a bowl berth or
Right.
possibly a national championship berth. The years when Jimbo was there, most recently, they had there was like a 2 or 3 year span there where they didn't lose a game. They were on like one of the biggest streaks in college football history.
Right.
For them to go 0-3, and especially the way they've done it,
I know.
If they lose this week, there's no way Mike Norville is a head coach on Monday, which I'll save that for the later segment. But I tell you what, watching the Florida State struggles makes me happy. I'm a Tennessee fan. That's one thing I can say.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I wish we've been there with Georgia State, but I don't think he should have been there after Jacksonville State beat him.
No, I don't.
I think he should have been fired that Monday. But
well,
his contract might be.
Here's the thing: if not, you say, okay, crazier things have happened in college football. Let him go. When they lost to Wake Forest in the manner that they lost, because they got beat, they got just pummeled.
Yeah, it wasn't that it was a close game or whatever. They
got embarrassed on television by Wake Forest.
Right.
He shouldn't have been allowed to get on the plane. They should have left him in I can't even think of the name of that city in North Carolina where Wake Forest is at.
Durham.
Is it Durham? No, I think that's Duke. Duke's in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, but I think Wake Forest is like.
Oh, anyways, whatever.
Right down the road.
Whatever. Leave him. If he's wherever, I don't care. Leave him there. Take him to Durham and drop him off. I don't know, but he should have stayed in North Carolina and not been able to get on the plane. That's ridiculous.
I agree 100% because the Jacksonville State was bad. I don't know. I think Jacksonville State was worse than Wake Forest loss, just to be honest. But after you lose to Jacksonville State, you should come out the next week and.
Well, see, that's my point, though. That's my point. Is, okay, we lost to Jacksonville State. Well, we got Wake Forest. We have nowhere to go but up. No, you got worse.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you allow that to happen.
Might have lost the locker room. I don't know.
I hope not, but it certainly doesn't look good.
But it doesn't look good for him. So we're going to move into this week, and the big game of the week for me is A&M and Arkansas.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The big game of the week is A&M and Arkansas. A&M is a good team, but I'm wondering, because I say they're a good team,
well,
what does Pittman and Arkansas have for them?
My thing, though, is A&M's not showed me enough yet. Though Colorado is not, Colorado is a decent football team, and what they do this week will be interesting to see too. But A&M in that manner that they played against Colorado, they were just very slow, couldn't get anything going.
Right.
I don't know. I think Arkansas has done more to impress me so far than A&M has.
Oh, yeah, especially the win over Texas. We already talked about that. But, not only did they beat Texas, but they thumped Texas. The thing
that they did against Texas is they lined up, and they basically lined up, and they were saying, okay, we're running the ball right here, and we dare you to stop it. And Texas had no answer, zero answer for it.
They couldn't do it.
And that's a huge credit for towards Browse. And here's another thing I'm thinking when I'm watching this game: Sam Pittman has a very good coaching staff. Very good coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his offensive coordinator is it Kendall? Is that his name? It's Art Browse's son.
Yeah,
Kendall Browse.
I think that's his name.
Who is one of the, aside from Lane Kiffin, he's one of the most creative offensive minds in the game.
Right.
His defensive coordinator is Barry Odom, who was former head coach of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, so last year Alabama's running through the entire SEC West. Arkansas held them to the lowest offensive production they had all season. Mm-hmm. Arkansas.
Yeah.
Barry Odom is doing some things on that defense over there. That coaching staff they're into it. They're fired up and ready to go. The team is looking good. I can't remember that quarterback's name, but he's explosive. He's electric. The running game looks good.
I'm not disagreeing with any of your points.
I look for it to be a low scoring football game, but I look for Arkansas to win by a couple scores.
I know we're going to pick that game here in a little bit, and you may or may not have the information on it. What's the line in that game?
I believe it was. Actually, I do have that because I have a point in my next segment, but it's
Right.
5.5 points, so 6 points essentially.
6 points for
A&M's a favorite, which I think is way off. I think that I think that they're favoring them just based off of rankings alone.
I think so, and I think I would take that bet. I think I would take Arkansas to cover.
Well,
no. I'm just
next segment I'm going to mention that, but yeah,
I personally, I would take Arkansas to cover that because not only is it a ranked game, but it's also a neutral site game. It's played in Texas.
they're playing in the Cowboys Stadium, which I
Right.
think they played that exact same game there last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is something that Jerry Jones has started. Him being a big Razorback fan,
Right.
and
Well,
everything.
he played at Arkansas.
Right.
So, and then, of course, A&M being right down the road in Texas, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be a good game. CBS is covering the game.
Right.
That's the game of the week on CBS this week. I would imagine game day's there, but I don't actually know that to be true.
I don't know where game day is this week. It has to be there or at
The Wisconsin Notre Dame game.
That's the other game
Yeah.
that I've got wrote down. Notre Dame or Wisconsin, which we can go ahead and go into it. I like Wisconsin in the Notre Dame game.
See, I have
I've
been
not
on the
been
fence
impressed with Notre Dame.
Well,
I'm
see,
just
I've been
not.
on the fence. Notre Dame has athletes that impress me, and they're right there. Like they could be impressive,
Right.
but the resume so far has not impressed me.
No, it's not.
Especially when you look
that's
at the aftermath. Like Florida State, for example.
Right.
At first glance, week one, you're thinking, okay, that was a good win. Florida State looks good.
It's a quality win.
Yeah,
It's not
That's
a
not a
it's not a
quality
struggle win. It's a quality win.
yeah, it's not a quality win anymore. And
Now we're looking back going, ugh.
yeah.
You know.
And Wisconsin, on the other hand, they had opportunities against Penn State, and Penn State's looking like a good football team.
Right.
They've just I don't know they've looked better. They've looked sharper.
Right. I would rather take a loss like they did to Penn State and say, okay, that's a good football team, than Notre Dame's win over Florida State, and you're going, okay, looking back now, that's not a good win at all. That's a good loss for Wisconsin, if you can have a good loss.
The thing that I think is going to play the biggest factor in this game is home field advantage, and Wisconsin's got the home field advantage. Wisconsin's going to line up and run the ball 3 yards and cloud dust football. Play
Old
field
school
position.
stuff.
Yeah, they are old school football to a T. So just typical. Old school Big Ten football. Just
You're right.
physical football. But I do think it'll be a good game though.
Oh, I think it'd be a great game to watch.
I think there'll be another low scoring game.
I think Wisconsin will keep it low scoring. I don't think Notre Dame wants it to be. But
Oh,
Notre Dame
yeah.
will play enough ball possession, control time of possession, and keep it, over under. I don't know. I would assume the over under for it's probably in the 50s. I think that if I was betting, I would take the under. It's probably going to be more
That's
like
what I
a 30s
Yeah.
over under. Like a 17-14 ball game, something to that effect.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's a good prediction. I could see that.
17-14, your over-under would be about 35.
Yeah.
And even then, if the line was 33, 34, I'd probably take the over. But if you go above that, like into the 40s, I'm probably betting under.
Yeah. I think it could be a field goal type of ball game.
I think so, too. That's why I said the
Possibly even, team with the last possession is winning the ball game. That's what it's going to come down to.
right.
But
And that's how I feel about the A&M Arkansas game, too.
I don't know. I'm interested to see how well A&M can, because we know what Arkansas is going to do. They're going
Right.
to come out and they're going to run the football.
Right.
And so, how well does A&M's
I think they have enough athletes and enough, that they can slow the game down.
yeah,
Personally, I do. I think what that game will come down to is somebody's going to miss an extra point, and then the kicker's going to get redemption on like a 30 to 40 yard field goal, and to win the game.
that'd be interesting. If it plays out that way, then
Like a 16-14 ball game.
okay, that's a good.
Something to that
I
effect.
like that. I'd love to see an overtime game.
21-23 ball game.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
But and that's where I think that game is. The over under.
I do think it would be, and see the over or the I want to say the over under on that game was 48. I think.
I'll take the under.
That's what I'm thinking.
I was thinking when I looked at
I may be wrong,
the
but I think it
over-under
was like 47.5, I think.
Let me look that
I
up
think.
real quick while you're talking.
But I do too. I think it would be under. I think that I think the reason that it was the score in the A&M and Texas, or the the Arkansas,
A&M Arkansas.
Yeah, the reason the score was so high in the Arkansas Texas game is Texas had no answer for Arkansas's run.
They couldn't stop them.
And I think A&M will do a better job at it, but I still think that Arkansas gets their yardage. I think that they are able to score points. I think that.
But I think because of them running the ball, and I think A&M will do the same. The time possession, and the clock will run. But the over/under, and it's 47.5.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, I think it's under. I think it's under.
I would bet under on that. I would bet under on that too. And the line's actually only 5.5.
And I've got that in the next segment. Yeah.
Okay, you got that one.
And I've got that. That's I think that is like. I think it'll be a tight game like that, but I think Arkansas covers that. I really do.
I do too. The other thing, because we're UT fans, we're going to talk about UT Florida, and it was actually on SportsCenter did a little segment on it today about UT Florida, and I think that we've not won in the Swamp since 2003, and they were talking about
swallow.
Yeah, well, even on the broadcast, they talked about Tennessee struggles recently, and which, like, again, is a hard pill to swallow, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. The line, I believe, yesterday was 21.5. I think today it's dropped to like 18.5.
Yeah, it dropped to 18. Well, according to ESPN, I haven't actually looked on FanDuel Sportsbook. No sponsor yet. But I haven't looked on there yet, and I'll check that while we're talking about it. But it was 21 this morning, so if it changed that quickly, I'm kind of surprised by that.
I almost wonder because people, because it fluctuates with how people are betting. People are probably
21 points. I take it. I know I sound like a crazy Tennessee homer, but I take it. I really think that Florida had a hard-fought loss to Alabama. Now, do I think we win the ball game? No, we don't have a shot in the dark to win this ball game.
No, but if you're talking about point spread, then it's
point spread though. I think we can keep it within 21. Is that a little crazy? Probably, but I'm saying it.
Wishful thinking to a point. I don't know. If it's 21, I'm probably taking it. If it has dropped to 18,
it has dropped to 18. It's 18.5 now.
I would take Florida.
Yeah,
I'd take Florida to cover that.
Those extra 2 points to really make a difference.
And you have to wonder too, how much are they not physically drained because they get the week of rest, but how much are they emotionally, mentally drained from having such a great game and almost a chance to knock off Alabama and coming back?
And how much are they going to overlook Tennessee, who is,
Who do they have next week? That's the other part of this.
Who does Florida have next week?
Yeah, the week following.
Of course, you'd ask me that when I don't have that ready.
I'm just asking. It just kind of crossed my mind because if they play somebody that is good, if it's Georgia, if it's even an A&M, Arkansas, or even an out-of-conference matchup where it's going to be a tough game.
I think their only other West, because you only play 2 from the opposite division.
Right.
I think their only other West team is LSU, which is not. It's a little ways off.
Okay, well, it might be. Well, anyways, if they play somebody that's worth, their mental.
It's at Kentucky, and Kentucky's actually playing pretty good football. Now, do I think Kentucky beats them? No. Sorry, Wildcat fans, you ain't winning that ball game.
No, I don't. The Vols ain't winning it either. But
no, we're not.
If you catch yourself looking ahead and thinking, well, we've got this week, we're mentally drained from losing to Alabama. Tennessee might have a chance to. I'm not saying upset them, but make a ball game out of it.
Yeah.
Because I think Tennessee can score on Florida. I'm not going to say they're going to score 35, 40 points, but they might put up 21 to 28, 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Or even get to 24 with a field goal. And then Florida, if it's a 24-38 ball game, I could see that. I could see a 24-42 ball game, which would be, 14, 17 points? Mm-hmm. Which is right there at your line.
Under the line.
That'd be Tennessee to cover. I mean, it's interesting because, like I said, Heupel in Tennessee can score points, especially because we've got Hooker starting instead of Joe Milton.
What do you think about that? What do you think about Hooker over Milton? We've not really talked about that.
Even offline, we've not really talked a whole lot about it. I like it. Hooker's not as athletic as Milton. He can't run the ball as effectively because when you look at Milton, he
See,
is a physical beast.
Yeah, but I'm the opposite in. Well, yeah, I get your point there.
Right.
He is physical. He's hard to bring down. But my thought is that Hooker is the more athletic just by speed, quickness, athleticism.
I think Milton has him beat in all of those areas.
Really?
But where Hooker is the better option at quarterback is he's a better passer. And your defense can't hone in on one aspect of Hooker. Hooker might not be as fast, he might not be as strong, he might not be as physical. But you can also key in on that. You can say, okay, Milton, you can throw the ball out of the stadium. That's fine. You can also,
he can
outrun us. But if Hooker's able to dot his I's and cross his T's and then make a couple plays with his legs, for example, like a Josh Dobbs, then your defense is no more spread out, and it's harder to game plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think Hooker would be the better starting quarterback, and then Milton would be the better gadget play guy.
Yeah.
To bring him in, if it's second down and 6, second down and 7, and let him, either take a shot or run a read option with him, kind of like a Taysom Hill in the pros. But Hooker's your better overall quarterback because he's more rounded. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. He's better rounded for Heupel's offense.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally, I think that I like Hooker better.
Oh, I agree. I like Hooker better.
I'm not downplaying Milton at all.
Milton is a physical.
If he could ever dial in his accuracy on those deep balls, he's a weapon.
Absolutely.
I mean, a guy that can throw like that has that much of a cannon. I mean, he's got one of the strongest arms.
He does.
I've ever seen in college football.
But he has no touch. There is no touch. I mean, it's a fastball every time.
Yeah.
Even on short routes, it's a fastball.
Now, that's one thing on the short routes. That ball's getting there. Nobody's
Absolutely.
picking that. Now, you might be breaking a couple of receivers' fingers or something.
That's exactly what I was fixing to say. You have a couple broken fingers, but that can be taped up. You can't fix missing 4 shots against Pitt in the first half, where Tennessee should be up 21-7, and all of a sudden they're in a dogfight, and then the second half comes along, and Hooker's trying to lead them back. But congratulations to Pitt, they did a good job. But if Milton connects on 2 of those deep shots, just 2 of them, but he overthrew, and he's overthrowing them not only against Pitt, but he overthrew them against Bowling Green. And so you're thinking, you might look great in practice. You might hit all those deep throws in practice, but when the juices are flowing in the game, are you still going to overthrow these guys by 10 yards? I think he's going to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to take some time for him to dial that in.
I don't think he can. I don't think that he can. Just personally, I don't think he can. I mean, nothing against the guy. He showed physically what he could do against Pitt. I think he had a long run. He did it against Bowling Green as well. But I think Hooker is your better, well-rounded quarterback.
Yeah.
Personally. Anyways, so we're going to move on from that and move on to our
bets of the week.
Bets of the week, which I am so excited for. Them and the picks.
And these are actually bets that I have personally made, which I probably should not be doing because I end up making way too many. But I also win. So I'm putting these out there. I'm actually going to add these to our Twitter page too. These are bets that I feel confident in. Well, 2 of them I feel absolutely confident in. The third one is a needs to happen, so that's why I'm putting my money on them. The first one, though, is Memphis plays Texas San Antonio. Memphis coming off the huge win over Mississippi State.
That was a big win.
A little bit of a controversial win, but still, nonetheless, a win's a win. Big win.
Win's a win.
But they are only a 3.5-point favorite over UTSA, and I'm taking that. I think they beat UTSA by a couple scores.
I agree.
So I've taken that for them to cover. Arkansas and A&M, which is a neutral site game, a huge game for both teams. Arkansas is a 5.5-point underdog, so they're giving 5.5 points to Arkansas.
I think Arkansas not only covers but wins.
I think so too. I like them to cover that. I think they win the game as well, though.
I think so too.
And then the last one. This is one that has to happen. This has to happen, and I hope that he sees this somewhere. I hope that somebody on the team sees this because Florida State is 0-3 right now. Okay, now they're about to play a pretty good Louisville team. They look athletic. They look very good. But you cannot go 0-4. You are Florida State. You cannot go 0-4, and It's a risky bet, but it's a bet that I'm going with because I think Norvell is going and that staff are going to coach their tails off because they have to. Here's the thing: if they do not win this game, I don't think that they make it into Monday. I think that they're out the door. And if I'm making the call, they're out the door. So Florida State, the odd is plus 106 odds for Florida State on Louisville. I'm taking the money line straight pick, Florida State to beat Louisville, and I made that bet myself. And I'm betting on them because they have to win the ball game. It's a must win. You can't.
I agree. Coaching staff wise, you're right. But here's my argument. And you said the line was Louisville by 6.
No, that was I don't know. Actually, I didn't write down the. I just did straight pick. I didn't do the spread.
Okay, so
I'll get that.
Give me the spread while I'm talking. I'm on the opposite side of that. I'm going to say that even though I'm not saying Norville's not going to coach, he's not trying at all. But I want to say that he's lost the locker room. The guys aren't going to try. They really don't care. They've already lost to Wake Forest and Jacksonville State, for goodness sake.
Right.
That they're going to go into Louisville flat. They're not going to. They're going to come out just kind of,
Actually, I do remember the line. It was Louisville by a point and a half.
I'm taking Louisville to cover
every day
of the week.
A half.
I would, if you told me Louisville by 10, I still take Louisville to win.
I'm taking money line, straight pick.
Right.
I'm saying Florida State beats Louisville in Tallahassee.
Right.
Because if they don't, I feel for you, Florida State fans. I feel for the program. I feel for the school.
Right.
If you're going to Florida State and you got a class on Monday morning, by all means, take the day off. You need a day. Don't go.
Right.
Golly.
I agree with
Call
you
your
saying.
loved ones that are Florida State fans because 0-4?
0-4.
The first time since 1974.
Like I said, a point and a half, I'm taking Louisville to cover. I think Louisville's going to come out hopped up, especially, you don't want to be the team that loses to Florida State.
That may be true.
You don't want to be the team that gives Florida State their first win when they've just lost to Wake Forest and to Jacksonville State. Yeah. And I'm not throwing off on Jacksonville State. They earned the win, but you're not Florida State. I'm sorry, but you're not.
I tell you what, and while we're talking about
that, Power 5 team.
What a story it would be if, and I don't know who's starting this weekend. I actually wish I'd looked this up. It just came to my mind though. But what a story it would be if Mike Norvell goes into this game and starts Mackenzie Milton.
I think he should.
What a story that would be though for Mackenzie Milton to end the losing streak. And I mean, that would be a heck of a story.
I agree. I'm just saying.
I mean, look at what he did against Notre Dame. They're down big. He comes in because that I can't think of the young quarterback's name off the top of my head.
Got hurt, didn't
he? I think he got a helmet knocked off. You got to come out for a play when your helmet's knocked off. He goes in and he ends up throwing a dime, and so they just let him stay in there. He kept rolling, and he ends up bringing them back.
Almost won the game.
Won the game. So what a story it would be if he goes in and brings them to a win, their first win of the year over Louisville.
I think I like the kid's story, but I just think that Louisville's not going to be the team to lose to Florida State for the first time. They're not going to give them their first.
And I can't really argue with you. There's nothing that they've done that I can say no. But I'm taking Florida State just off the. I mean, at some point, these kids, whether you like Coach Norvell or not, at some point, these kids they went to Florida State to put on the garnet and gold. I think that's what they call that, garnet and gold. Have some pride in what you're doing. You're about to be the worst team in school history. Don't be that. I mean, that's man. I don't know. This is where you need Tim Tebow to step in and give the pregame speech.
Right.
But I don't know. I think Florida State, they have to get it done. And I'm not saying that they're getting done just because I want them to. They have to get it done. There is no Monday. Monday does not come around if you don't get it done.
Oh, Monday's going to roll around for the student athletes. Monday's not going to roll around for Mike Orville. I don't think.
No, it is not.
I don't think so. But
those are the three.
And here's the thing too: is even if Louisville wins and Louisville wins by let's say 3, Mike Norville probably makes it through this game. But if Louisville comes out and beats them by 21, 28, I mean, just absolutely thumps them.
Even if it's a 1-point loss, if I'm the administration, Mike Norville's got the door.
I think we talked about this off air. I think Mike Norville has 3 more years on his contract, so they probably let him ride at least to the end of the year.
Gosh, and he may be because I think he's only in year 2, and I know it's crazy that guy in only year 2. Give him some time.
I think he's year 3. I think he's in his 3rd year there.
Is he? I thought it was the 2nd year. Okay, but still, even at that,
Right. You
They've
need
not
4
been to a
years.
bowl game. Like they don't even look competitive right now.
No.
You know,
And here's
something's
the
got to
thing, too,
give.
is if they lose to Notre Dame, they beat Jacksonville State like they should. They beat Wake Forest, and they lose to Louisville. He's in a totally different boat. You know, he's 2-2, but his 2 losses at least are respectable.
Yeah.
You know, now you're looking at 4 losses, and 2 of them are awful losses.
Yep.
And if Louisville beats them like a drum, you're looking at 3 awful losses.
Thing is, though, even if he beats,
awful waffles.
even if he beats Louisville, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the rest of this schedule while we're on this real quick.
Right.
Even if he happens to beat Louisville, okay, the rest of the year each week you're still fighting. You're fighting for your job,
Right.
Because next week they have Syracuse, which is they should win,
Syracuse is bad.
but if they lose to Syracuse, it just gets. I mean, then the following week they go to North Carolina. Oh,
Okay, so let's say this. Let's say he does survive this. He goes to Syracuse and gets a win. Well, I'm not saying win or lose against Louisville, but he survives it. He goes to Syracuse, gets a win, and then he goes and beats North Carolina.
That's a big if. That's a big
I
if.
get it, but weird things have happened in college football.
That's true. That's
But
true.
he might save his job with a win over somebody like a North Carolina, but also he could also not make it through. If he loses this week and then again to Syracuse, he may not make it to North Carolina.
I would be amazed if he lose Saturday and he makes it to Monday. I'll be surprised. I'll be so surprised. If we're back here next week after a Florida State loss and he's still here, I will be in shock. I will be in shock.
We'll see.
We'll see. But no, they're winning. They're winning this week. They're winning. I'm putting money on it. They're winning.
See.
I already put money on it. They're
We'll
winning
see.
this week. They have to.
We should do a segment too where on some of these bets, like the loser has to do something, like goofy.
Well, at the end of the year, we got our game day picks. At the end of the year, maybe the loser of the picks has to do something.
That's fine.
I'm not sure what. Yeah,
If you guys know anything, guys, let us
that
know.
would actually
We'll
be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to go on to our game picks, and now these are not money line, or these are money line. These are not over under. They're not spread. There's nothing else going on. These are just straight picks,
like college game day.
Right. And probably get through these pretty quick because we're getting a little bit closer to that hour mark, I think.
It's been a while. We've been out of habit. So.
Yeah. Well, just talking about college football, it's fun. It's entertaining for us. Just what we like to do. So, but we'll go into each game and talk about them just for a couple minutes because we do have quite a few to talk about.
All right. So the first game is I believe it's a Thursday night game actually.
It's actually night.
Marshall at Appalachian State. I'll let you go ahead and start it off.
App State.
That's what App State at home. It's hard to pick against them.
Boone, North Carolina.
They played, which I don't really know how to gauge it, but they played Miami so well 2 weeks ago.
They really did.
And they're athletic.
They're a good team.
They're having some struggles, but they are athletic.
They're a good team. Well, they have athletes. I guess I should say that. They've got athletes on the team, but they are struggling just a touch. But App State.
So so we both took App State. Okay,
Right.
so the next pick, the next game, we have undefeated Liberty at 2-1 Syracuse in the Carrier Dome.
Like I said, Syracuse is bad.
Yeah, they're not great, but they're not.
Liberty. I'm taking Liberty.
I'm taking Liberty mainly for Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze.
I like what he's doing there.
I do too.
He's going to have a job at some point somewhere else.
I can see him being at USC. FYI. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Which we didn't get to hit on that, but if we got to hit on that, I have some candidates I want to throw out there. Maybe next week we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get there next week. Especially we might have 2 coaches' jobs to talk about.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So number 3, LSU travels to Mississippi State.
See, I struggled on this one.
I did
really
too.
did.
I did too at first,
I wanted to take Leach, but then I thought, I think the same thing like you're talking about with Norval. I think Orgeron is coaching for his job.
Yes.
But I think the difference between Norval and Orgeron can get his guys to buy in.
Yes,
And
I agree.
I took LSU.
I take an LSU. So are we
Is
on
LSU
the
at
same
home?
picks? No, they're at Mississippi State. They're down there in what they call cowbell hell down there in Starkville.
Well,
and it really is.
If it was in Death Valley, I would take LSU and not really think anything about it.
Oh yeah, don't think twice.
Right, but
Mississippi
I'm still gonna
State
take LSU.
Mississippi State started off kind of slow though.
They are. You're right.
Um,
I'm still going to take LSU.
Next game, it's crazy. I'm very surprised that we're through 3 games. We've picked the exact same games.
And we don't on this. We don't converse. We just kind of talk about what we're going to talk about, and then we just kind of come together. So you're as surprised as we are.
the fourth game, which is actually a neutral site. I didn't realize this until I was looking at the games.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's neutral site. I don't know if that changes your pick. If you got time to change it while I'm reading this off here.
Go ahead.
Number 12 Notre Dame, they're undefeated, goes to or I'm sorry, they're not going to them because it's neutral.
Where's the
I'm
game
pretty
at?
sure. Chicago, Illinois. I think I'm not positive on this, but I think it's the is it a baseball stadium that they're playing in? I'm not positive
Chicago?
on that.
I mean,
I'm not
I'm sure it's
positive
not
on that.
Wrigley.
I'm probably wrong on that, but I saw
look it up
somewhere
real
the
quick.
stadium name. But
I'll look it up while you're talking.
so undefeated Notre Dame travels to, or excuse me, I keep saying travels to Wisconsin.
is the home team, yeah.
They're the home team, but I'm pretty sure it's neutral. Are you looking that up to me to verify? Because I don't want to be wrong on that, because that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
It's not on
ESPN site.
And actually, I think earlier in the segment I talked about Wisconsin being the home team, because I keep thinking
They are the home team, but
yeah.
I
It is at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois.
That is the
Who
Bears.
is the Bears? Okay.
But
All
now
right.
Notre Dame they're in Chicago, aren't they?
No, they're in Indiana.
Yeah, you're right.
So
that is a neutral
So
site
it's a neutral site game, so there's really no home field advantage for either team.
game.
But I
Notre
still
Dame
go
fans
ahead.
travel well. There's a lot of Notre Dame fans just because of the religion, Catholic. I'm taking Wisconsin.
Did you just okay? I don't, we're gonna ignore that. I don't
What's
know if you
that?
just threw a shot at Catholic people, but anyway.
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
I'm just kidding.
people flock to Notre Dame because
I got you. Yeah.
right. You know what I'm saying?
No, this is a joke. But anyways, that's not a very good lighthearted joke. But anyway, I'm taking Wisconsin.
I am too.
I think that Wisconsin just has, the way they play, their style of play is going to dominate this football
I
game.
agree.
And now Notre Dame can surprise me. I think this is the most battle-tested game Notre Dame's had yet.
I don't.
This is going to be the toughest team that they've played all
yeah,
year.
I agree with that part. I'm disagreeing with
Them surprising us.
them surprising us because, like we talked about earlier, Florida State, the game with Florida State, you thought, hey, both teams are back, both teams are legit.
Right.
And now Florida State is not.
Here's my
they're,
thing.
They're fighting for their life. And so now you're looking at, is Notre Dame really worthy of, I think they're ranked 12.
Yeah.
I don't think they're worthy of it. I think they're
Here's my thing.
more like a 20.
Every year, Notre Dame limps through the season and squeaks by these teams that they really probably should beat handily, and they make it in the college football playoff, and then they get blown out.
They got thumped by a real team.
Wisconsin, this is actually a good football team. This is a good test.
Oh, I agree.
If they make it past Wisconsin, then okay, they're pretty good.
Right.
But Wisconsin, everybody in America is counting on Wisconsin to do the dirty deed here and put a stop to this limp, this because they don't have a conference.
Right.
They're not in the ACC anymore.
Right.
Which they should be. But anyway, moving on.
I think Wisconsin gets the win.
I take Wisconsin too. Again, I can't believe we're the same picks through 4. But anyway, it might get shaken up here in a minute.
I don't think so. Well, maybe. There's one coming up.
Undefeated Texas Tech goes on the road to Texas.
I'm taking Texas.
I'm taking Texas. I think Sarkisian.
I think
Texas
so,
Tech, they're looking good, but I just think
But they're not
Sarkisian.
Texas.
No,
They're
I
not
think
Sarkisian.
Sarkisian is going to have them fired up. They're they're
Great
home.
offensive mind.
I'm not sure if this is. I don't think it's the home opener, is it? I don't
With
think.
Texas?
Yeah, I don't think it's the home opener. But anyway, it's a home game.
Hard to believe.
It's
Week
probably-
4 you have had hope.
I know it's the home conference opener,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can believe that.
but I think you'll have them ready to go. I think that they got too much firepower. I think Texas gets the win.
I do too.
Next game, which if you're up late enough to watch it, these Pac-12 games, I tell you.
Oh, I can't. I don't even try.
Washington State goes on the road to Utah. Interesting stat.
I've changed my mind.
Well, I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out there just in case.
It might reinforce my
On the
pick.
radio this morning, Utah's starting quarterback through 3 games has left the team. Now, I've not looked into that to see what
that does
happened,
change it.
but he has left the team.
Yeah, but Washington State's on their backup quarterback too, all right?
That I do not know. I do not know.
Jarrett Garantano got hurt, and
What?
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
yeah.
That's
What?
unbelievable. You mean
What?
Jarrett Garantano is not leading that team to a national championship? Are you kidding me?
At least
Come on.
I at least thought he'd make it through week 1.
Nah,
But he got
honest
hurt.
to goodness, I say that as a joke.
Actually,
I really thought he would actually do pretty well at Washington State.
I did
really
too.
did. I know I sound crazy, but I really thought he
No,
would do well.
and I was actually rooting for him. But
I
and at Tennessee, he was actually he took a lot of shots. He was actually not a
He's pretty tough.
pretty tough kid.
He's pretty tough.
But he got hurt, and I can't even remember the quarterback's name, but they're on their backup quarterback too. So I'm going to stick with my pick. I'm going to stick with Utah.
Dang it. I was hoping that'd throw you off. I'm taking Utah at home. Utah coming off that loss to BYU.
Yeah.
I think that was last week. Now my weeks are running on me. But I think that they get the job done at home.
I do too.
All right, here's where we're going to be different.
Nope. Oh, yeah.
Louisville at Florida State.
Okay, you're taking Florida State. I'm taking Louisville.
I'm taking Florida State. Florida State does not go 0-4.
They
do not go
Louisville
0-4.
and they win by more than 1.5 points. Louisville wins by 14.
Okay. Oh, that's a bold pick. That's a bold pick.
I went low.
That's a double deduction if you lose that one.
I went low.
Okay.
I really wanted to say 28, but I'm going to say Louisville by 14.
Florida State, I think it's actually probably a close game, like the experts seem to think.
I don't.
Florida State wins it in Tallahassee.
I don't.
Number 24, UCLA, who's been the surprise of the season, I think. Chip Kelly's doing a phenomenal job over there.
I agree.
Number 24, UCLA travels to Stanford. Who you got?
UCLA.
UCLA.
I got UCLA.
Really? Okay, that's where we're different again. I think Stanford is playing great football.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
home. Their defense looks good. I think they're going to, kind of like a Wisconsin, they're going to control the time of possession. They're going to play, old school football. And I think that helps them win. I think it's a tight game. I think it's a close game, but Stanford wins it.
I think the opposite. I think, if I'm not mistaken, UCLA lost. Was it last week they lost? Hang on.
I had them pulled up here, and I don't anymore.
They're 2-1. UCLA.
They are 2-1. They're both 2-1.
UCLA lost to
Fresno State last week.
Oh, I
This
remember that.
is-
That was a trap game.
right.
And yeah, so they are going to have a little bit of juice to come back and prove the doubters and
Right.
stuff. Fresno State's no scrub though. Fresno State's a good looking football team. Fresno State.
Right.
Now correct me here, but I believe Fresno State is the one that gave Oregon a tough test week 1. I think.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oregon started out kind of slow.
Week 2.
Week 2, okay, and Fresno State gave them their money's worth.
Right.
They had to score. I think they scored late to take off, and get the win there.
Yeah, UCLA got off to a fast start. They thumped up on Hawaii 44-10.
Beat a ranked LSU team 38.
I actually picked that game. I actually got to beat myself a pat on the back. I picked LSU to win, I picked UCLA to get that win over LSU.
Right. I just
at
think
home.
that this is a big game. I think UCLA wants redemption.
For the Fresno State, I think they come out and they beat Stanford.
Well, okay, that's all right. Next pick, we have number 25, Kansas State, which is Coach Klein. Is that how to say it? Is that right?
I think so.
Former North Dakota State head coach. They're going on the road to Oklahoma State. Who you
Oklahoma
got?
State.
Dang, man, I thought you for sure you'd
Oklahoma
take Coach
State to
Klein.
upset.
I take Oklahoma State. I really like
Gundy.
Mike Gundy.
I
Yeah,
do too.
I think that his offense is one of the best in the country, and I think that them in Stillwater. That's Stillwater, right?
Yes. Yes.
They're tough. They're tough to beat in Stillwater.
Yes, they are.
So I take Oklahoma State. All right. We had the last game. Well, before the game of the week, we have. And this is a tough one. We have Nebraska 2-2 going on the road at number 20, undefeated Michigan State.
I think this is an easy pick. It's Michigan State.
I think it's an easy pick. Well, part of me, it goes back to the whole thing about Orgeron and Mike Norvell. I think that Scott Frost he's coaching for his job.
Yeah, he's on my list on my
This is a
5.
game that you gotta get a win here somewhere, and this is one that he really can't afford to
And
lose.
it could save not only his job, but even if at the end of the season, if he's not happy in Nebraska, which I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, as far as that's where he wanted to be. But if he's not happy and he gets a job offer from USC,
Right.
I could see him with the win here being able to bolster his Anyways, his resume.
Yeah, I know what you. Yeah,
Yeah. He's trying. This will help him as far as that goes, and he can leave Nebraska in the dust, win or lose.
the thing that gets me is his name keeps getting tossed around with this USC job, and I don't get it. I don't understand.
Because
Why?
USC is going to throw the money at him.
But why? My thing is, why are they throwing the money at him? What have they seen? They're like, I want that guy. Here's my thing.
I'll answer that in a minute.
He's
because I have an answer
he's
for
on
it.
year 4, right? This is year 4.
Yes.
Okay. How many bowl games has he been in?
I don't think any.
0.
Yeah, 0.
Zero. 0 bowl games.
Well, here's my answer to that. Is when you start looking at some of these coaches that are probably going to not make it to the season. Like you're talking about a Mike Norvell, a Scott Frost. When you look at who's available, and this is what Tennessee ran into this past offseason, the names available that you can pull are very slim.
That's true. That's true.
And some of those names are not very good.
That's true. All right, so wrapping it back in here.
Unless you can pull a Gus Malzahn.
That's true. So who you taking? Michigan State, Nebraska?
Michigan State.
Michigan State. That's okay. That's what I got too. And the last game of the week, I think this is going to be a great game.
So excited for this.
Me
game.
too. I can't wait to watch this game.
I'm probably going to regret my pick, but I think I'm pretty set on it.
Oh, I don't regret mine. Oh well, that makes me wonder who you picked. Number 7, Texas A&M. They're both undefeated. Number 7, Texas A&M versus number 16, Arkansas. Who you got?
A&M.
Wow.
I got A&M to win.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
There again.
I'm taking Arkansas.
Well, if I'm doing a safe pick, I'm probably going to go A&M. But I really, in all reality, and we talked about it earlier, I think it's going to be a field goal game, and I think Arkansas is going to win. Like I said, I can see Arkansas kicker missing an extra point somewhere in the third quarter, and then coming down into the game and kicking a winner.
My thing is, I really believe that the whole reason why A&M is a touchdown favorite, essentially 5.5, they got to win by 6.
Right.
The reason why I think that they're a touchdown favorite is because of the ranking. I think if you flip the ranking, the favorite goes to Arkansas.
You also have to look at where the game is played. Yeah, it's a neutral site game, but the game is played in Texas.
Yeah, but that's
I
not
understand
that
Arkansas
far.
not that far, but
Yeah.
It's almost essentially a home game for A&M.
I don't know. I'd almost say you're playing in Jerry World. So, in Jerry World is going to be – you think about this for a second. They're going in there, okay, in the nicest NFL stadium there is.
I've been there. It is immaculate.
But hang on. Jerry played – he was on the only national championship team for Arkansas. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. He's an Arkansas Razorback through and through. When those kids walk in there, they're getting royal treatment. I wouldn't put it past Jerry to do some kind of tactic to A&M to put them in like a broom closet or something at the other end of the stadium, make them like I don't know that it's a home game per se.
I'm talking about for the fans.
Yeah, I think Arkansas travels well.
I think both teams are going to get the great treatment, especially Arkansas, but because bottom line is this. No, bottom line is this. Jerry's about money.
That's true.
And if you can continually get these sort of games to be played in Dallas in that Cowboy Stadium, and people are walking away, teams are walking away going, "You will not believe how we were treated." It was great. All this. Jerry's about money, and he's going to want those games to continue to be there.
That's a good point.
Same thing with your major bowl games. Those teams are treated like royalty, and the reason is they want to have teams come back again next year.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's just my point. Anyways, so we've got to do with that. We was only off on, 4?
Yeah.
Louisville,
Those are the
A&M,
4 that you lost on anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. It's recorded. There's nothing you can say.
No, I'll put them on our Twitter page. I was gonna make a graphic and put them up.
That's perfect. All right, so we're gonna do our 5 and 5, and our 5 and 5 is the 5 coaches we'll think are on the hot seat and will not have a job by the end of the year.
A couple of them I think are on the seat right now.
Well, if we was making this list at the beginning of week 1, one coach would have been on it and he's already been fired.
Yeah,
the USC coach, I can't think of his name.
Hilton. Was it Hilton?
Yes, I think you're right. So I'm gonna start off with my number 5, and I might surprise you because a lot of people probably don't have him there, but I think he's struggling. Is Manny Diaz at Miami?
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. He's on my list.
Okay.
But
a little higher for you?
Yeah, a little higher. Do you have any?
No, I mean just struggling there at Miami.
Okay.
2 of the 3 major Florida teams are struggling. Florida
I
State,
agree.
Miami, and then you got Florida with Mullen, who they hit a home run higher with him, I believe. But I think Mike Diaz at the end of the year is probably looking for a job.
I agree. My number 5 might actually surprise you and a lot of people because I'm about to talk about a guy that 2 years ago won a national championship, and to me, Ed Orgeron.
Wow.
And here's my reasoning though.
I agree.
Here's my reasoning
I
though.
see it.
And I'm not saying that he for sure is on the hot seat. I'm saying that he could potentially be he's got a chance to be on the hot seat for sure And one thing is, he opened up with a loss to UCLA at UCLA that no LSU fan expected to ever happen.
No. I
Um,
think they're ranked like 16 at the time.
they're six. Yeah. Wait. I think that's right.
They're not ranked now.
Yeah, they were ranked 16 then. So here's what I'm gonna say. Okay, this week they got Mississippi State, which we talked about as a must-win. He's
Right.
got to win this.
He has to win this. I think
Because
he does.
here's the deal. He has the entire SEC West schedule, and I'm going to read these off in the order of the games that he's got to play.
Right.
After Mississippi, he goes to Starkville, first of all. He comes back to Baton Rouge to Death Valley to host number 23 Auburn, who looks good.
Loss.
They travel to Kentucky, and I think they beat them, but I think it's a trap game. I think that's a trap game.
It could be.
They come back to Death Valley to host number 11 Florida.
Loss.
They go on the road to Ole Miss,
Loss.
to Alabama,
Loss.
come back home to host Arkansas.
Loss.
The only break in the schedule is they have Louisiana Monroe at home. Then they end the season with a home game against A&M.
Loss.
He has an opportunity. They've got to win ball games because he has an opportunity to be looking at a losing season, no bowl berth.
Yeah.
And, that's a tough
Like
schedule.
a 2-win season. Maybe
Yes.
3-win season.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go by
Depending
the
on Kentucky.
4, if you count the Kentucky, did you give Kentucky a dub or did you give LSU a dub?
Have they already got a win already?
They've got 2 right now. They beat McNeese State and they beat Central
Okay, so
Michigan.
the rest of the way, I've got them beating Kentucky and the
Louisiana Monroe, and then they have to win this. But here's the thing: even if they beat Mississippi State this week, if they lose those other ones that you mentioned, that's only 5 wins.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I
That's
could see- I
tough.
could see him
But
being
it's unbelievable though. You got a guy who just won Coach of the Year and won a national championship 2 years ago,
Yeah, but
and here we are. But that's the crazy
But
world
looks-
of the SEC. This is
Well,
the
not
Nick
only
Saban
that, but-
effect.
well, no, that's just the Nick Saban effect. It's the losing effect. You can't go from a national title team to 2 years later you're not even bowl eligible.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just that's the simple fact of the matter. You have to at least be bowl eligible to have an argument to keep your job.
yeah, that's true.
So
But that's my number 5.
my number 4 is Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, no way. Oh, this is fun. Okay, that's my number 4. Let's
Okay,
go.
well let's talk about it.
Jump
because
right in it.
If Jim Harbaugh, and this is the year like we talked about earlier, he has to beat Ohio State. He has
has
to
to.
He has to
Has
get some
to.
wins. I don't think he can beat Penn State, but if he doesn't get wins against Ohio State and some of those other Big Ten schools, people, this is his year to get Ohio State a victory against them. If he doesn't, and Ohio State ends up with 2 and possibly 3 losses on the season, people are going to go, you can never beat Ohio State if you can't beat them this year.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. And I wanted to put him so much higher because
I did too, but
he has
some
been
of the other guys-
he's been so underwhelming. And we've talked about this before on
Yeah.
other episodes. We talked about it off air. We've
He's
talked
had
about
good
it.
years, especially when he was at Stanford.
He has
but
been
his
no
recent-
more. No, I can't really say it that way anymore. After looking at the full resume, he has been just a little bit better than Butch Jones.
I agree.
He's been just a little bit better than Butch Jones.
I agree.
And
agree.
people criticize Butch Jones as being, the worst coach in Tennessee history.
No,
Blah, 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 blah.
he was leaps and bounds above Derek Dooley.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's
But
different argument for different time.
so here's the thing. Harbaugh is currently, and it's crazy. They're number 19 right now, 3-0. All signs are looking great.
he's got him playing well.
Here's
But
the thing.
It's hard. And people are like, he's 3-0. Why you put him on the hot seat? If he
Well,
loses, go ahead.
Here, I'm about to tell you why. He has Rutgers this week,
Win.
so they're going to go. They're going to be 4-0.
Right.
After that, he goes to Wisconsin. He goes to Nebraska, which is going to be a tough game. I'm
He'll
not
win.
giving him a guaranteed win.
I'll say it with the win.
I think Scott Frost, like I say, he's coaching
Scott
for
Frost might not make it to that game,
Hey,
man.
but now look at what Nebraska did to Oklahoma last week. Nebraska can play some football.
I
they can
think
play
Oklahoma's
ball.
overrated, but that's my opinion.
Okay, I can tell you this: Jim Harbaugh ain't got Spencer Rattler on his team.
That's true.
He ain't got no Spencer Rattler.
That's true.
He ain't got no Mims.
Hey, that's true.
Yeah, he ain't got no Eric Gray. That Oklahoma team is pretty dang good. They're talented.
I
they're
think
talented.
they're overrated. But a different story for a different day.
But then he hosts Northwestern, which has not been as good as I expected them to be. I actually thought they would compete in the Big Ten. They've not been very good so far.
That's a win.
He goes to Michigan State. Host,
Too early to call. Too
Host
early to call.
Indiana,
Win.
who is I think Indiana catches some stride here soon.
Win.
He goes to Penn State,
Loss.
to Maryland,
Win.
and then host Ohio State.
Okay, so I could see
That's a
him
tough schedule.
entering the Ohio State game with 2 losses,
Just 2?
possibly 3, but more than likely 2. He'll lose to Penn State.
I think he loses.
Toss up on Michigan State game.
I think he loses to Wisconsin.
Toss up in Wisconsin. So let's say he wins 1 of the 3. It's just still 2 losses.
Okay, he has to beat Ohio State or he's out.
I agree.
Has to beat Ohio
100%.
State.
100% agree.
Here's my thing.
Because then you're looking at 3 loss, and you didn't beat Ohio State the year you could have beat them.
And actually, I think it even gets worse if he's undefeated. I know that sounds crazy. If he goes into the Ohio State game undefeated, though, and they lose to Ohio State, think about it. They're undefeated.
It depends on how many losses Ohio State has at the time. If Ohio State enters the game with 1 loss to Oregon, and you lose to Ohio State at that point, people are going, well,
But he's never beat Ohio State.
I agree.
He's never beat Ohio State.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ohio State has 2 losses going into the game. I think Michigan will end up with probably 2 losses going into the game. So you got two lost teams, and if you lose Ohio State at that point, you can never beat them. This was your year to beat them, and you lost.
So do you keep him?
And you fire him.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But if he's undefeated, or if let's say he's 2 losses, Ohio State 2 losses, and he wins, they keep him.
That's gonna be interesting.
It's going to depend on.
I don't want to wish the season away, but I'm sitting on the edge of my
forward.
seat, looking to see what happens there.
Well, and a lot of it's going to depend on how the chips fall.
But then you kind of go back to the whole thing that you mentioned before about okay, who do you hire? There's not a whole lot of but here's my thing. You have a Matt Campbell who's ready for a big job. You have, in my opinion,
who I don't think is going to win the Big 12 now.
I'm still hanging on for him.
I hope so.
That's my pick. I'm sticking to it.
I hope so, but I don't think it's going to happen.
But you have my dude, our dude, Jamie Chadwell, who's ready for a big boy job. He's ready for a big time job.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have what is the coach at Louisiana Lafayette's name? Help me here. Shoot.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I'll tell you who a name that some of these teams will be looking to hire, like a USC, a Michigan.
I mentioned Hugh Freeze.
Right, Hugh Freeze. But also a guy from the NFL, the OC for the Chiefs. I can't think of his name.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
But anyways, he's looked for a job in the NFL for years, for the past 3 or 4 years, and can't get a job in the NFL. Who says he doesn't bump down to the college ranks? You got to throw that name in there.
Possibly.
And then you got Urban Meyer, who in a couple of years might be looking for a job.
Right. The only thing about an OC, though, is it's going to be hard-pressed to take an OC over a guy who's actually been a head coach, even at a smaller school, who's actually proven as a head coach.
I guess.
In my opinion. That's just my opinion.
And you're probably right. Well, you got Lane Kiffin out there, too, that might not be too excited about having to coach against Saban for the next 4 years.
Yeah, because he ain't going
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you have to look at that, too, with other conferences.
So moving on to number 2.
3.
Okay, 3. Whoa.
Yeah, I'll get through that pretty quick. It's Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom at Purdue. He's
that one surprises me.
No, he's on the hot seat. I don't think he makes it to the season.
Really surprises me. My number 3 was Manny Diaz. I know you already mentioned him. I'm just going to throw a couple points out there. Miami was so hyped up, especially bringing in Derek King. Mm-hmm. Derek King was a Heisman front runner going into this season. They talked all this trash about how they were going to beat Alabama. They were going to win the ACC. No, they got blew out by Alabama. Then they got blew out at home this past week by Michigan State, which Michigan State is looking good.
Right.
But you're sitting at 1-2 after were they top 10 to start the season? I know they were top 25.
I don't think so. I think they were like 11 or 12.
Okay. Well, still.
I could be wrong.
Top 15. You have a top 15 ranking to start the season. Everything looks good. You look like you're going to be a conference contender. And now you might be limping through your rest of your schedule. I don't think it looks good.
Looking at maybe getting bowl eligible. I mean,
yeah, possibly. And I just saw today there was news that Derek King has a banged up shoulder from the Michigan State game,
collarbone or
something, and he may not play this weekend.
Ooh,
so
that's not good.
No.
I'm gonna go back to Brom. The reason Brom is on the hot seat is somebody Tennessee at one point was going to offer him, and he went back and got a contract extension from Purdue, and he's not delivered on. And that's why I say Jeff Brom's there. He's not delivered on some promises, and he's got Clemson in the ACC, but
he's also Purdue. I mean, Purdue is not.
I get it, but at the same time, you've got to produce if you're going to.
Yeah,
they're not ACC. They're Big Ten, aren't they?
Purdue or Miami?
Purdue.
Yeah, they're Big Ten,
Yeah.
and that's a tough conference,
It is,
especially
but
for a Purdue.
You don't make promises you can't fulfill on. My number 2, I think we're going to be on the same on 2 and 1.
Okay.
Mike Norville.
That's not my number 2. That's not my number 2.
He's
So
number
go
1.
ahead.
But
Yeah, he's number
Mike
1.
Norville at Florida State, for all the reasons we've said for the past
yeah.
hour, he's just
Yeah.
especially if you don't beat Louisville, you're not making it to the door on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I know it's crazy. Like it's either 2 or 3. Year 2 or 3 for him. I'm not sure. And the guy that I have at number 2, he's actually had a shorter tenure, not by much, but a shorter tenure than my number 1 or than my number 2. Gosh, excuse me. But I'll tell you, my number 2 is Scott Frost.
See, I guess we flopped.
We
my
flip-flopped.
1 is Frost.
And I'm sure, for a lot of people, the logical reason is Scott Frost at 2. And I'll just go ahead and talk about Scott Frost first, because we're talking about both of them at the same time here. Scott Frost has not produced what everyone expected him to produce at all, but he's in a tough conference, much tougher conference than what Norvell is coaching in. The Big Ten is a much tougher conference than the
Top
ACC.
to bottom, I agree.
And Tom, I love you, dude, Clemson Tom, but at me. If you believe that the ACC is better than the Big Ten, come at me. There's no question the Big Ten is a better conference than the ACC.
Agree. Top to bottom,
Because
you're right.
the only thing that you have in there is Clemson. That's it. North Carolina's been playing some pretty good football, but who else?
They're not the same as. I mean, when you talk about the Big Ten, you talk about not only the big boy in Ohio State. You've got Michigan State. You've got Wisconsin, Penn State.
Yeah.
Michigan, who's ranked. I mean,
Yeah.
top to bottom, it's better.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, here's my thing. I think if you put and I don't mean to speak ill of North Carolina because I love Coach Brown, I love Coach Woods, who we had on here. But I think if you put North Carolina and Indiana together, which I think was the bowl game last year, and I may be wrong, but I think that was a bowl game last year.
I think you're right.
But if you put North Carolina and Indiana together, I think it's a good ball game. And Indiana is like, what, the 5th best team in the Big Ten right now?
If that, I mean.
So, I mean, that's my whole argument.
What if you just say, Clemson and Ohio State, which is, to me, a wash, because Ohio State beat Clemson in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Well, then number 2, Penn State. Penn State is leaps and bounds above North Carolina.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, and then you go to the 3 for the Big Ten.
Wisconsin.
Who's the 3 from the ACC?
Miami. And Michigan State actually Michigan State and Wisconsin's a toss-up at 3 and 4.
Right.
And they're 4. If that's their 4, then they just ransack your number 3.
Right. But when you start matching up top to bottom, your top is a wash. You can call it one way or the other.
Keep going.
But from 2 down to whatever 10, it's the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely, leaps and bounds. But
Scott Frost,
I think Scott Frost, though, he's going to have to produce something.
He got a good contract, and he has not produced.
No. So my thing with Mike Norvell, and I think that
I think he's on year 3 of 6 on his contract, which is the only reason they're probably keeping him around at this point, just for the money. But I don't see a way he makes it through the season. I don't. I think he ends up not bowl eligible, and he loses his job.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. I think that,
including this week, he doesn't get a win this week.
I think that they have to win. It's not that he gets a win. I think they have
Norvell
to win.
needs the win.
If they don't win, this game, he's gone. He can pack his bag. And honestly, I'm probably telling the wife on like Tuesday, hey, go ahead and be packed and ready because we could be out of Tallahassee by Saturday night. If that's a noon kickoff, which I think it is, they may be out of there by 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Right. But they've got his office packed up for him.
Oh yeah.
He walks into a box on Monday.
Yeah, I'm sure they've probably already taken his name off of the door and said, if you want the name back, win on Saturday.
I agree. Well, Scott Frost is in the same situation, in my opinion.
I think he is. I do think he is, but I think he has a little bit better of a leg to stand on just because of his scheduling. I think his schedule has been tougher. I mean, he went and played Oklahoma. Florida State. Who has Florida State played? Notre Dame.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
and if you compare Notre Dame and Oklahoma, that's apples to oranges.
I agree. I
So
100% agree. But at the same time, I mean, the same thing with Jeff Brom. When you make promises and you don't deliver on them,
that's true. That's true.
Millions of dollars speak. Hey, you're not going to.
But see, that's my thing with USC. You're watching this guy at Nebraska, who is not able to compete with these other teams in the Big Ten, what makes you think that he's going to come to USC and automatically be good? Because USC is a much bigger brand than Nebraska.
It is.
They're a bigger brand. They're a national brand. I mean, Nebraska is nationally known too, but USC is the brand of the Pac-12. If you think about Pac-12 football, the first name that comes to mind is USC.
Not recently.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Name alone. The first name that comes to mind is USC, just because of who they are and what they've accomplished.
I agree, but if you're asking me who I think is the best team in the Pac-12 right now,
Currently, yeah, probably Oregon or Stanford.
the Oregon.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, the biggest brand in the Pac-12.
I agree.
It's got to be USC.
I'm just, whenever you start hiring these coaches, you start going down that list, and oh well, we can pull this guy, this other head coach.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't. And then that list starts shortening down really quick, and you start going, well, how has this guy fared not only in the past 4 or 5 years, but how his career? And Scott Frost has done it in his career, just not the past couple of years.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on the dude, but
I'm not either. I'm just saying, whenever that list starts shrinking, you can't just say, "Oh, what have you done for me recently? What have you done for me for your career?"
Right.
And when your career speaks, "Hey, I've got a shared national title."
A made-up national title.
Well, right. That speaks volumes over somebody that hasn't even been there, or as an OC.
I think I might claim myself to be a national championship winning coach tomorrow, if that's the case.
He at least got his team undefeated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
they didn't
anyway.
win. They didn't win part of Alabama that year. I'm just saying.
No.
Anyway, so that's it for us, guys. We'll be back again next Thursday, and watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And the last thing, guys, is make sure you go to the Facebook page or to our social
Twitter.
media, and leave us a like, drop us a comment. We'll be glad to talk with you and whatever you want to do. All right, appreciate it, guys.